thank you ladies for joining me today, this afternoon. So excited to have you both here. This is really important work that you do. And we've just done this segment with Ron on rural resistance for restaurateurs. Thank you for having the insight to actually move forward with that idea too and make sure that we got that information out. That was so, so powerful. So you ladies are the brainchild of this idea to start off with. So just wanting to recognize that and really wanting to spotlight the important work that you're doing in your community. And, you know, it's been my experience through COVID. I don't know, I want to sing your praises for a moment because I think that, you know, we gave a lot of recognition to all of the first responders out there, and absolutely so, deservedly. But I also feel like you ladies were the first responders managing the triage for the entrepreneurs on the ground in the communities going through COVID, right? It was a different type of trauma, but you were there, you took a lot on. So just really wanted to applaud you and thank you for that important work. So let's actually dig in here a little bit. And I'm curious, so Community Future Sunrise, you are located in Southeast Saskatchewan. And what areas do you represent? Is it everybody from the Southeast, all the entrepreneurs from Southeast Saskatchewan?
Yeah, great question. All of the Community Future offices are regionally based. So we all have our own separate region. There are 13 of us within the province of Saskatchewan. We're Southeast Saskatchewan. So if you kind of skirt the Manitoba and United States border and then go almost up to Regina, that's our Southeast section of the province that we serve with our loans, advisory services, training and education and support for entrepreneurs.
Awesome. And I imagine that you're seeing an uptake through COVID. Is that right?
Boy, we've been busy.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And the other piece that you may not know, that Community Futures, we're all very specifically rural. So for those that might be sitting in Regina, for instance, we do have services comparable in Regina, but we don't service Regina specifically. But yeah, certainly that uptake right now as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great distinction. Thank you. The rural versus the urban, right? So you're there for rural entrepreneurs. Can we define entrepreneur a little bit? Because I think that means different things for different people. So are you supporting the full gamut, the A to Z of that entrepreneurial bucket?
You know, we do support a lot of different sectors. We do focus on the small and medium-sized enterprises within the rural area. And because job creation is important to us, we also have that as one of our mandates. So there are some more passive types of business income that can be generated that we don't usually do a lot of service provision to or financing for. And we also do stay away from the traditional agricultural types of ventures because they do have our sister organization, FCC, that can support those entrepreneurs.
Awesome. And so sole proprietors, incorporations, you're there to lend a hand.
Even nonprofits, social enterprise, those are some of our sectors as well.
Beautiful. And I think that's important to mention because I've, all day this morning so far, there's been probably about 15 different businesses that have talked about social enterprise, purpose-driven business, and especially now through COVID, I think everybody's recognizing that they want to show up powerfully and how can they start incorporating that into their model. So that's great information to know. So what are you seeing out there now with respect to challenges? I don't even know where to start to tackle that question because you must be seeing a whole bunch of stuff out there, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, I think it depends on the sector as well, too. So many sectors have made so many changes to their rules, their regulations, and right down to the roots of how they're operating. And of course, that's, one thing why we're addressing what we're addressing today. So it's a lot for that entrepreneur to keep track of. The big thing is, is where do I find the information? How do I keep up to that information? But how do I keep running my business with all of this, and maybe some shorter staff because I've had to trim. So Community Futures at CF Sunrise, we have stayed on top of some of those updated informations, the government websites, the announcements that have come up. We've got a great easy link on our web page as well too that just says COVID-19, where we keep all that information up to date. So that's the one big challenge that we're finding, is just for those entrepreneurs to find an easy access point for that information, because it's overload.
Yeah.
Another challenge obviously is staying relevant during this time right now. How does that entrepreneur stay on top of things, stay relevant when it comes to e-commerce, when it comes to, you know, just changing and pivoting their business model? We're using that word a lot, that pivot. So I guess reimagining that business plan and having the courage to take a look, relook at your business plan, relook at things so that you can truly pivot and make a change and stay relevant in your industry, I think is one challenge and one real important piece. People get into their comfort zones, or it can be really scary, and you can kind of, you know, end up, you know, putting your head in the sand, which that's not the time to do this right now. I think we really need to stay relevant and have that courage to step forward and take a look at the hard things and you know, make those changes. And sometimes it's hard to do that because it's overwhelming. And that's where Community Futures can come into play to say, we can be that sounding board for that new business. We can be the sounding board for that existing business, to go in there and really help that entrepreneur pare things down and see where they can restart again.
Beautiful. Well, I mean, that's a great add-on to the conversation that I had with Ron, right? Because COVID is the catalyst. These are all the things we should have been doing in our business beforehand, right? The profiting and the understanding the pricing strategy and showing up powerfully for the customer and the consumer based on what their needs were, right? And pivoting. We know of businesses like Blockbuster that didn't pivot. They didn't see the opportunity. But here we are in the midst of a global pandemic, which is forcing us to do what we always should have been doing. So again, just thank you for being there. Thank you for being there to support entrepreneurs through this process. And so what drives you? I know this is a loaded question. I know all the members of your team probably have different things that drive and motivate each of you personally to show up as powerfully as you do for entrepreneurs. But you know, is it a company mandate for you? Is it an individual mandate? What really drives you to be there supporting like you do?
Oh, that's such a big question, but it's a great question. And I think that all of our team members here at Community Futures have a similar answer, probably not the same answer. My answer is I really am passionate about an entrepreneur evolving themselves, evolving their business to remain, as Teresa said, relevant, to remain profitable. That ongoing learning and being able to change is just, that's really the light bulb moments when we see that happen in a business owner or in a business itself. That's where I guess the whole passion for entrepreneurship kind of comes from for me, and I think for a lot of our team members as well at Community Futures.
We've had entrepreneurs that have worked with us closely as they're maybe doing a startup, maybe they're already existing, and they've come back to us and said, wow, like kind of going through this business plan or going through this process, I've actually learned so much more about my business, or learned so much more about starting my business. So that's a good piece, is to kind of having that back and forth. It's a lot of work, but we know entrepreneurship is a lot of work.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think this is, you know, in my experience working with you ladies, this is one of the things that make you different, make Community Futures different as a whole, but it's your ability to show up and support them through the process of understanding the nuances of the plan. So how to plan to even get the money, right? And I think this is probably one of your biggest, you know, unique differentiators out there compared to a lot of lenders. And I understand that with lenders, sometimes even just bundling the money is really important, but you're there to champion them from this idea of here's what I want to do or where I want to take my business, help them with the planning through that. And then at the other end, have a bucket of money, if I can say that. That sounds, you know, somewhat trite, but to have that money and then to be able to introduce them to other service providers if it needs to be topped up, or if you need to, you know, need to be able to piece together multiple sources of funding to get them off the ground. Is there anything that you would add to that that you feel really differentiates you from other support systems in the community?
I think you said it perfectly, Tanya, in that our community futures in the Sunrise region, our mission is actually to support the development of entrepreneurs within our region. And that's a really loaded statement when you really sit down and think about it, because financing is a piece of the puzzle, ongoing training and support, brainstorming, advisory services, coaching, being there when there are challenges, being there when there are opportunities. So all of that's rolled together, and we're governed by a board of volunteer directors that care about the region, care about their business community. So there's a lot of support. There's a lot of ongoing resources that are available. And I think that's the differentiation, is just the additional care. We care about what happens in our region, and it's a large region, and we have representation throughout.
I love that. That's a great point too.
Yeah.
What about the board piece, where your board is made up of community members that are all in there, right? Everyone's in the trenches together right now through COVID, and you guys are the conduit to, you know, to help these entrepreneurs to get out of the trenches. So I am wondering, when it comes to finance, when it comes to money, we're all about nailing the numbers. You know, we've been doing this together for a while now. Numbers, I know, come cloaked with a lot of fear, anxiety, stress, intimidation. And speaking for the entrepreneurs that are out there that are in need of help, but are afraid to reach out for whatever reason, and you know, shame, guilt, and I'm not saying that that should be felt, but I know it is. What advice would you give an entrepreneur that needs to reach out but is just too intimidated to take that first step?
Well, I know, Teresa, you see these inquiries every day. So do you want to field this one? I know you have some good advice.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, a couple different things is, you know, being that we're just a phone call away. And as everybody, we've had to pivot and adjust. So we can reach out by phone, we can reach out by email, we can do Zoom calls, FaceTime calls. So we're very reachable. We're relevant in the industry. But, you know, the one big piece of, I think, it all, and Tanya, you'll probably talk about this, you're quite aware of it from some of your other sessions that you've done training with, is removing that ego piece with that, because it's impossible for an entrepreneur to know it all. And whether you're a startup, and especially even when you've been in the business for a long time, to remove that ego to say, gosh, I kind of need some help, or I need a sounding board to talk about marketing ideas. Where can I go to that? I need a sounding board. I need advice on credit and collections for business, even though I've been in the industry for 10 years or 20 years. I mean, things are different and things change. So I think that's the one big thing, is advice for an entrepreneur is, and ego maybe, it sounds like a big word, but it's just kind of going, hey, it's okay to say, I can use a team behind me, because you're all better with a group of people moving forward and supporting you. And really, that's what we're here for. You know, we are fortunate to be right here in Southeast Saskatchewan. We are familiar with what's going on in our communities, so we can resonate and understand. You know, we're not maybe that big FI that you're getting a phone call from somebody, and they're fantastic, but you know, you might have somebody sitting in Toronto or Vancouver that are, you know, trying to assist, but not fully aware of the kind of the region that we're sitting in as well too. So that makes it a bonus, is understanding our neighborhood per se.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think that is extremely valuable, right? Because you're in that backyard, you understand what's relevant. I love that piece of you're not in Toronto or Vancouver or in a different market completely across the border, right? You're right there. You're experiencing everything that they're experiencing. And again, through COVID, you know, it's been my experience so far in working with clients through this is that I think outside of a global pandemic, we feel alone and we feel isolated and we feel like we're the only ones going through what we're going through. We're the only ones that aren't profiting. We're the only ones that are paying ourselves last. We're the only ones that are putting payroll on credit card. And through COVID now, we realize that, oh my goodness, the vast majority of us are in this space doing this all at the same time and that we're not alone. And then Community Futures is this beautiful soft place to land for us with no shame, no judgment. How do we start moving forward out of that, even through a pandemic, right? So I think that's beautiful. And again, I really want to thank you for the work that you do. It is so appreciated. You probably don't hear that enough, I imagine. Maybe on the other side of a loan you do. That might be where you really get the woohoo, but then you might not hear from people again for a while, but hopefully not. We have to stay in touch. So speaking about staying in touch, I can see, Teresa, thank you. Great place to reach out and find you is cfsas.ca/sunrise. And this is the other thing I think for those of you that are listening, when you go to the cfsas.ca website, you're going to see, even if it's a Community Futures website, you're going to see all the regions that are supported and you can find your region. So I know we've got people from across the country listening in, but if you go to your Community Future website, it will show the region. These lovely ladies are taking care of the entrepreneurs in Southeast Saskatchewan. So again, thank you for that work. And other than the website, what we will do, ladies, is we'll put your telephone number down and your email because everybody communicates differently and wants to reach out differently. But again, thank you for making that so inviting for people to know that they've got a soft place to land. And again, thank you for the innovation and insight to do this segment on rural resilience for restaurateurs. It was so much fun with Ron. And we've got workbooks and playbooks and tip sheets and lots of great stuff that entrepreneurs can access when they feel it's time. So thank you again, ladies, so much. And we'll see you for another episode. Bye for now, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.